Welcome back again to another amazing episode of Southern Sorcery. Today we are looking at one of the most fun and most powerful commanders ever printed. This is Kaalia of the Vast. So Kaalia came out originally in her own precon, but semi-recently she got a reprint in Modern Horizons 3, so we thought we would do a build for you guys. Kaalia is a super powerful 3-color commander, giving us access to lots of great spells and great cards. When she attacks, you can put a demon, a angel, or a dragon card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking that player. So she is going to cheat out huge creatures for us, which makes her very fun, very powerful, and a big threat at the table. And people know this commander, so be advised. However, this also makes the deck plan pretty straightforward, as we want to cheat out those big creatures. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put a ton of big creatures in our deck and then a bunch of protection for her, and that is going to be our game plan. But before we jump into that, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out so much. We're a smaller channel. So jump into the comments section. Let us know if it's your first time here. Also, let us know if you hate it. Trolls, you are welcome. Troll away in our comments section, because something about the algorithm, and yes, helps us out. So troll or, constructive criticism, whatever you want to put in there, put it in there. Today's video sponsor is Nerd Gear Gaming. With innovative original new products like the Playmat Sanctuary and the Commander Essentials Kit, Nerd Gear is for nerds by nerds. A newer company, they've had massively successful Kickstarter campaigns along with a #1 new release on Amazon. They've got lots of 5-star reviews, and the products speak for themselves, like life counters, dry erase tokens, spin downs, and various other products. Check out their website for some sweet deals, including an extra 5% off when you use our code Southern at checkout. And yes, that discount does stack with whatever other promotions they're running. You can also find them on Amazon with Prime shipping. Just search Nerd Gear or use the links in the description. So check out nerdgear.gg. So again, with Kaalia giving all of that value, the deck list is going to be somewhat straightforward, but we are going to go through that nonetheless. Since we're going to be putting in all these big angels and demons and dragons, we want to at least pay that off with either ETB effects, so when they come in, they do something for us, or when they deal combat damage, they do something for us, because we won't hit the attack triggers. Since they come in tapped and attacking already, they don't get that attack trigger on the turn they come in. But, in following turns, attack triggers are great. But mostly we're going to try to pay off the ETB or the when this creature deals combat damage, this happens. Kaalia is also, like we said, the engine in this deck, so having ways to protect her is also super important. So we've got a bunch of that in here as well. And thankfully, she only costs 4 mana, so we can get her out pretty quickly, but we just want to make sure that she stays out. And if she gets removed, we have ways to get her back relatively easily. And of course, we need lots of card draw, so we can keep our hands full of those big creatures that we want to cheat out. And then, of course, we also are going to have some removal and things to take care of any potential problems. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. So Kaalia is 1 red, white, black for a human cleric, and she has flying. And whenever she attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking that opponent. So again, that's what we're going to build around. And so first up, let's just go through our creatures, which is going to be the bulk of the deck anyway. We've got 38 total creatures in this build, starting out with Aegis Angel. 4 white, white for an angel with flying, and it says when it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Aegis Angel. So we'll probably be choosing Kaalia for that. We've also got a Chroma Angel of Wrath. This is 5 white, white, white for an angel. Has first strike, flying, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and red. Is also a 6/6. We've also got Ancient Brass Dragon. This is 5 black, black for an elder dragon. Has flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you roll a d20, and then when you do, put any number of target creature cards with total mana value of X or less from graveyards onto the battlefield, where X is the result. So in layman's terms, you roll a dice. However much the dice says you have that much mana value to play with, you can pick and choose creatures from any graveyard and put them onto your battlefield under your control, where that mana value is however much the dice said. So if you roll a 20, you've got 20 mana's worth of creatures that you can go get and put onto the battlefield from any graveyard. Pretty good. Next, we've got Ancient Copper Dragon. This is a similar dragon. These are all from the Baldur's Gate set. They are all very good. There is an ancient dragon in each color. There are 3 colors in our commander, so we can have 3 of those dragons. So Ancient Copper Dragon is probably the best one. It's certainly the most expensive one, but when it deals combat damage, you roll a d20. Whatever the result is, you make that many treasure tokens. So very good. And then we also have Ancient Gold Dragon. Ancient Gold Dragon, you roll the d20, and you create that many 1/1 fairy dragon creatures tokens. We've also got Angelic Arbiter. This is 5 white for an angel. It has flying. When each opponent who casts a spell this turn can't attack with creatures, and each opponent who attacked with a creature this turn can't cast spells. So this is going to slow our opponents down. Some people look at this and say, oh, you're playing stacks pieces. I look at it and say, you have to get rid of this instead of my commander. So it's kind of out there as a decoy. Next, we have Archfiend of Despair. This is 6 black for a demon. Has flying, and it says your opponents can't gain life. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. So essentially, however much life you lost that turn, you're going to take double. So if I lost 10 life this turn in combat or through various other ways at the end, I'm going to take another 10. Then we have Aurelia, the Law Above. This is 3 red-white for a legendary creature angel. It has flying, vigilance, and haste, and whenever a creature attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. So it doesn't have to be attacking you, it just has to be attacking. But you get to draw a card, and then whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia, the Law Above, deals 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. So it's going to include you in this as well. So if you attack with 3 creatures, you get the payoff. If you attack with 5 creatures, you get the payoff. But then if any of your opponents do the same thing, you get the payoff. You get the card draw, or you get to deal the damage. Then we've got Balefire Dragon. This one is gross. 5 red for a 6/6 with flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. This is a 6/6. If it's got flying and it gets through and deals 6 damage, it's going to deal 6 damage to each of that player's creatures. Token decks hate this. Next, we've got Bloodgift Demon. 3 black for a demon. Has flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, target player draws a card and loses 1 life. You're probably going to target yourself, but that's basically a Phyrexian Arena just on a creature body. Then we've got Bloodletter of Akhlazotz. This is a fun new vampire demon. Well, I say new, but it's a year old now, but it came from Ixalan last year, and it has flying, and it says if an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much life instead. So another way just to stack damage against your opponents. We've also got Bloodthirster. This one's really good because it says Flying Trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, untap it. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. And then it says Bloodthirster can't attack a player it has already attacked this turn. So if it comes in and is going to deal combat damage, you're going to have another combat. And then if Bloodthirster deals combat damage again to another player, you're going to do it again. And then another player, do it again. So Bloodthirster can net you up to 3 extra combats for 1 turn. Very gross. Just notably that, and to keep in mind that like damage stays marked until the end of turn. So if you swing out with him and he's a 6/6, even with trample, someone blocks him with a 4/4, you'll still get the extra combat. But then Bloodthirster is a 2/2, so just be mindful of that when you're, doing these multiple combat phases. That like, oh yeah, now it can get killed easily. Then we've got Bruna the Fading Light. This is 5 white for an Angel Horror. Whenever you cast Bruna the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield, and it has flying and vigilance. Next, we have Dazzling Angel. This is 2 and a white for an angel. It has flying. Whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. So just a little bit of life gain for us. We've also got Esper Sentinel, which is a good card draw engine. It is 1 white for a human. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. So a good card draw engine. We've also got Exemplar of Light. This is new from Foundations. 2 white for an angel. It has flying. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on this creature, draw a card. It only triggers once each turn. So card draw is good. We've also got Firemane Commando. 3 and a white. Has flying. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. And whenever another player attacks with 2 or more creatures, they draw a card if none of those creatures attack you. So an incentive to attack someone else besides you. We also have Giada, Font of Hope. 1 and a white for a legendary angel, has flying and vigilance. Each other angel you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. So this is going to stack on however many angels we control, so we're going to be putting lots of +1/+1 counters, and then you can tap it for white and spend it only to cast angel spells. So having a little bit of mana there is nice, but mostly we want the counters to make our stuff huge. We also have Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, 4 red, white, so a little expensive, but again, we're cheating these out, so we don't really care what they cost. Has flying and first strike. It says if a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. Great payoff when our opponents attack each other and when we attack our opponents. If a source would deal damage to you or permanent you control, prevent half that damage rounded up. So if I'm supposed to take 5 damage, you round that to half, which is 2.5, so you round that up to 3. So instead of 5, I'll just take 3. We've also got some protection here, which is Giver of Runes. It is a core cleric. Tap it, and another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice until the end of turn. So that's nice. We've also got Gold Mirror. This costs 2, and it taps for white. So a kind of a mana dork there for us. We've also got Grand Abolisher, which is 2 white, and it says, during your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. So this is a way for us to protect against getting messed with during our turns when Kaalia is doing her thing. And then we also have Hellkite Tyrant. This one's super good. It's 4 red, has flying and trample with and it's a 6/5. Whenever Hellkite Tyrant deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. So this is a win con outside of that, but also you get to steal your opponent's soul rings and signets and all their fun stuff. Those equipment decks are going to hate you. We also have Herald of Eternal Dawn, a newer angel from Foundations again. This is 4 white, and it says Flash. So you can play it at instant speed, and it has flying. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. So like Platinum Angel, I think says the exact same thing. You can't lose, and they can't win. So fun here. We also have Iron Mirror. This is also a mana dork that adds red. We also have Ishian, 2 heavens as 1. In the colors, you can't not have him. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger it, it triggers an additional time. So it's going to double up our Kaalia triggers, which is crazy. Then we've also got Leaden Mirror. This is going to tap for black. We've got Lord of the Void, which is a demon. It's 4 and 3 black. Has flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library, then put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield under your control. So we're just going to go steal creatures. That's good. We've also got some more protection. This is Mother of Runes. She's probably the most popular of this kind of card. You tap it, and target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice until the end of turn. We've also got Obnixilis Unshackled. This is 4 black for a demon, has flying and trample, and says whenever an opponent searches his or her library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Obnixilis Unshackled. So he's going to get bigger. We also have got Rakdos, Lord of Riots. This is black, red for a demon. It says you can't cast this spell unless an opponent lost life this turn, has flying and trample. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. So this is going to potentially let us get out a bunch of these bigger creatures for next to nothing. Notably, you also don't have to cast Rakdos with Kaalia's ability. You can just put him out tapped and attacking, so it's a good way to cheat him out. You don't then have to fill the requirement of you can't cast it until or unless an opponent has lost life this turn, so you can get him out. And then, potentially you could cast several of those bigger creatures in your second main phase instead of waiting to cheat them out one at a time with Kaalia's ability. We also have Razaketh, the Foul-Blooded, 5 and 3 black for a demon that has flying and trample. And you pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature to search your library for a card, and then put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. It says a card. That's insane. So Razaketh is really good. You do have to sacrifice a creature, but chances are we will have something that we don't care about, or something that had an ETB that's already happened that we won't get again, so we'll go get something else and put it into our hand. And it can be any card, and that's insane. We also have Safara, Sky's Blade. It is 4 and 3 white for an angel, and it says you can pay a white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Again, we're probably going to cheat it out anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Has flying and lifelink, and other creatures you control with flying have indestructible, so that's going to give our commander indestructible, which is nice. We also have Tariel, Reckoner of Souls. It is 4 white, black, red. For an angel with flying and vigilance, and then you can tap it, choose a creature card at random from target opponent's graveyard, and put it onto the battlefield under your control. So a way to go take things from our opponent's graveyards and put them on our battlefield. We've also got another new dragon. This is Twin Flame Tyrant. It is 3 red, red, has flying. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or permanent that opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead, so a damage doubler. And then lastly, we have another demon. It is Vile Mutilator, 5 black, black for a demon. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or an enchantment. Again, if we cheat this out with our commander, we won't have to do that because we're not casting it. Has flying and trample, and when it enters, each opponent sacrifices a non-token enchantment, then sacrifices a non-token creature. Guys, this deck is mean and kind of gross. That closes out all of our creatures. Again, there was 38 creatures in this deck, so very creature heavy. But let's run through the rest of what we've got. So first we've got sorceries. This is going to only be 4 spells. We've got Jessica's Will, which is going to let us have either some card advantage or some mana, or both if we control our commander. We've also got Reanimate, 1 black to go put a target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under my control, or under our control, and then you lose life equal to its mana value. We've got Sign in Blood, which is black, black, and a target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. And then we also have Vandal Blast, which destroys a target artifact you don't control, or you can overload it and destroy each artifact you don't control. Next, we've got our Instants. And in Instance, we've got first Boros Charm. This is going to probably be protection, but you can choose one. It deals 4 damage to target player or planeswalker. Permanents you control gain indestructible until the end of turn, or target creature gains double strike until the end of turn. So you pick one of those. Then we've got Eerie Interlude for 2 and a white, and it says exile any number of target creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you can use the Eerie Interlude a couple of ways. One, and the main way, is you can blink creatures that have enter effects. So if we've already used, if we've already cheated out several creatures and they have ETB effects, we can use this card to take them off the battlefield and put them back. Those ETBs will trigger again. But also, if, for example, someone is targeting our commander, you would do this to exile it, and then at the beginning of the next end step, they will come back. But if someone was targeting our commander, then that spell would fizzle because the target would be gone. Next, we've also got Everybody Lives. This is 1 and a white, and it says all creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. Players gain hexproof until the end of turn. Players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. So again, protection for us. It does protect the whole table, which is interesting, but we kind of don't care because it will protect us. Then we've got Flawless Maneuver. You can cast this for free if you control your commander. Otherwise, it costs 2 and a white. And it says creatures you control gain indestructible until the end of turn. We've also got a little bit of removal. We've got Generous Gift for 2 and a white, and it destroys target permanent. Its controller makes it 3/3 elephant instead. We've also got Lightning Bolt for 1 red, and it deals 3 damage to any target. We've got Path to Exile, which exiles a target creature, and then its controller goes and gets a basic land. And then we also have Swords to Plowshares, which exiles a target creature, and its controller gains life equal to its power. Moving on from instants to artifacts, we've got 9 artifacts. We've got some mana rocks, so we've got Arcane Signet. We've got Chromatic Lantern, which fixes our lands to be able to tap for any color. That's nice. We've also got Felwar Stone, and then in this deck we also have Mind Stone, which is nice. You can pay 1 and sacrifice it to draw a card, so like if you're in a pinch and you need to draw a card, this lets you do that. And then we've also got Soul Ring, classic mana rock. Outside of mana rocks, we also have a couple other artifacts. We've got Mythor Coat, which costs 3, and it has flash and indestructible, and when it enters, you attach it to a target legendary creature you control, so our commander. And then that equipped creature has indestructible. So a way to keep Kaalia alive. And then we also have Swiftfoot Boots, which cost 2. equipped creature has hexproof and haste, so it's going to keep our commander from being able to be targeted. And then lastly, we have the One Ring, so we can draw some cards. It has indestructible, and when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. Then you can tap the One Ring and draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. So a very good way to draw cards turn after turn. We've also got some enchantments here. We've got 6 enchantments. We've got Black Market Connections. Black Market Connections is really good. It's 2 and a black. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you choose 1 or more. And so there are 3 options here, and you can choose 1, or you can choose all of them. Or you can choose 2 of them. You can choose any of them. The first one is create a treasure token and you lose 1 life. The second one is draw a card and you lose 2 life. The third one is create a 3/2 colorless shapeshifter token with changeling. You lose 3 life. The changeling token is really nice because if we have payoffs for angels or demons or whatever, they will trigger those. Next, under enchantments, we've got Flowering of the White Tree. It is white, and it says legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have ward 1. So just more protection for our commander. And then non-legendary creatures get +1/+1. We've also got Monologue Tax. It's 2 and a white. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, you create a treasure token. So just another way to generate more ramp to recast Kaalia. We also have Reconnaissance for 1 white. You can pay 0 and remove a target attacking creature you control from combat and untap it. So Reconnaissance sort of lets you cheat out those creatures with impunity, because even if you're attacking with Kaalia and then you cheat something out and someone wants to block that, or whatever the case, you can use Reconnaissance and get that back. So that's kind of nice, because then potentially you can still get that creature out. Maybe you want it for an ETB, but then you don't want to immediately lose it, so then you can just use Reconnaissance to remove it from combat. So it'll get the ETB, and then you can remove it. We've also got Smothering Tithe. Smothering Tithe is a classic. It's 3 and a white. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player can pay 2, and if they don't, you make a treasure. So more ways to ramp. And then our last enchantment is Trouble in Pairs. It's 2 white. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, skip that turn instead, and whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card, or casts their second spell this turn, you draw a card. So Trouble in Pairs can draw lots of cards. And then lastly, we have a couple of lands I want to mention. I'm not going to mention the lands that just tap for mana. There's no sense in that. But there are a few utility lands that I want to go over. First is going to be Command Beacon. You can tap it and sacrifice it, and then put your commander into your hand from your command zone. So if Kaalia has been removed several times and is 8, 10, 9, however much mana to recast, you can sack the Command Beacon instead and put her in your hand, and then just recast her for her actual casting cost. We've also got Minas Tirith. Minas Tirith is really good because you can pay 1 and a white into it to draw a card. Also got Rogue's Passage, so you can pay 4 and tap it, and a target creature can't be blocked this turn. So we have some creatures that have, like the Ancient Copper Dragon, Ancient Gold Dragon. Those have when combat damage is dealt, so we want those to get through. We can make those unblockable. We'll be able to get those payoffs. We also have Seraph Sanctuary. This one's a good one for angels. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life, and then whenever an angel enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. So we'll be gaining life for each angel that comes onto the battlefield. And then lastly, we've got Vault of the Archangel. You can pay 2 black-white into it and tap it, and creatures you control gain Death Touch and Life Link until the end of turn. So that's kind of our last utility land that lets us pay off something, or use it for something other than just mana. But that's it. That's the whole deck. Again, thank you all so much for coming by and spending some time with us. We know time is the most valuable resource anybody has. Again, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. Jump into the comments. Tell us what we missed. Tell us what you thought we put in that was dumb. Troll us all you want. The comments help us out. No one understands the algorithm. It's an enigma. It's an oxymoron. It's understandable. It's ununderstandable. It's ineffable. Anyway, we don't know what we're doing here. We just like Magic and like to have fun, and we hope you do too. Check out one of our other videos if you like these, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.